I'm Manuela Seve.
And I'm Renata Thome, and we're the co-founders of Alpha'a.
And today we're here to talk about how to build value through assets that are usually unused. These assets are wall spaces and public areas. Because we at Alpha'a believe that living with art should be a right and not a privilege.
We came about this problem 5 years ago when we went on the world to try to democratize the art space. And why art? We believe that art is a unique tool to create connections and also tell important stories.
So here are a few facts that we learned along our journey. Art promotes mental health. Art promotes community bonds. Art promotes lower vacancy. And buildings with strong art programs have higher return over invested capital. How many people do you think Hilton engages to put up artwork in the new geographic region? How it works now is a developer or hotel owner needs to reach out to a project manager who will then hire a local curator. She'll charge a large upfront fee and will only work with a handful of artists who will then outsource production of the actual artworks within rooms to a number of suppliers unknown to the hotel owner or developer. This adds multiple layers of complication and cost to the project that is already one of 2,300 that their head of design is overseeing. And this problem is industry-wide, from the hospitality industry with over 264 million square feet of new space in the US alone, to the multifamily space with 307 billion square feet of new space, to commercial real estate with 670 million square feet of space. Alpha'a is the iTunes of the visual arts. A simpler, faster, easier, and massively more efficient solution where filling walls is no longer a struggle. We lower the amount of touch points in any given project to one. We're a B2B marketplace connecting companies to the visual arts, a cloud-based solution licensing artwork and drop shipping limited edition prints in 3 continents. We are the Gagosian that anyone can afford. We're the biggest art gallery in the world, but we hold no inventory. And how does the product work? Our clients fill out a simple questionnaire, which then outputs a digital collection according to the specs that they set. They can then try out their works in virtual environments and figure out the sizing and finishing that they need for those works. Once those specs are selected, an API sends over the high-res image to a supplier as close as possible to the end client, who then prints, frames, and delivers the finished pieces directly to them.
We have 3 different curatorial models. Number 1 is special projects, when we invite an independent curator to select a number of artists from his or her network and use the platform to create a line of limited edition prints. Number 2 is open calls, when we invite art students or artists in general from all over the world to represent through the visual arts a problem in a social or environmental cause. And number 3, which is how we started, is crowdsourcing. So the platform is open for any artist to sign up, create a profile, submit works, and once a month we do a pre-selection of those works and put them on a voting platform where then the public is going to help us selecting their most favorite works to become limited edition prints. We source our art globally, but we produce the limited edition prints locally, thanks to a network of suppliers in 3 different continents. So we can import and export art without having to deal with the problem of logistics or cross-border taxation. Prints are highly customizable. The client can select from a variety of different materials, fine art materials, so the print is going to fit exactly what he needs and wants for his project.
And every artwork purchased brings with it the image copyright in perpetuity, enhancing and maintaining value. And the key to all of this is technology. We use blockchain to certify all of our works. This way we can provide provenance and transactional history on any piece purchased. This is particularly useful for assets which have a a cycle. For example, in a hotel where a renovation happens every 7 years, the works are no longer disposable. Clients can come back to us and have these works exchanged, reprinted, repurposed in case of an accident or a natural disaster. They still hold that image copyright, building value throughout, their entire life cycle. And companies like Related have been using the arts to anchor projects for many years. A recent example is Hudson Yards, where they not only built the Shed, which is a public museum, but the Vessel, which became an Instagram landmark, and the world-famous High Line, which bolsters pieces of public art which connect the property to communities all over the world and build intangible and real value for their tenants. Another example of public art used to build value and differentiate brands is in the hotel world. This is an image of the Faena Hotel in Miami, where anyone walking on the beach can see this large-scale installation. But Alpha goes one step further, licensing large-scale works into collectible pieces. This, for example, is a 3D printed sculpture on the right, which is 32 centimeters. The original piece was 18 feet tall along Park Avenue and was a building which lived a few hundred meters away, the Helmsley Building. This allows the company to actually expand the public art strategy to within properties and provide a rev share for property owners. So art is a tool to connect buildings to their neighborhoods. Working with local artists immediately connects the property and its tenants to the region.
So this is another very interesting example. The works you see here by artist Jorge Riveros. And the big pieces are original oil canvas, and the pieces on the side are two limited edition prints created from original works. And the biggest difference is that the unique piece costs around $50,000, while the editions cost in between $600 and $1,000. So there is a big difference in cost and also in size, which allows the hotel owner or the property owner to have a cohesive storyline from the main areas to the smaller places like the bedrooms. And besides from that, it's also possible to generate some revenue as there is a possibility for a rev share.
Yeah, and this is another example by the same artist where the Four Seasons was looking for a series of sculptures for their public areas. And since they were putting up 22 sculptures, the unit budget was a little tight. But we worked with the artist in creating the project and ended up building a 3D printed edition as well, which we then connected by the use of QR codes so that the guests staying in the Four Seasons could buy their own versions of the sculpture and have them produced in their own countries. This not only provided a rev share, again, transforming the walls from cost centers to revenue generators, but also amplified the properties and the brand value because these customers were actually bringing home parts of the property.
But how to continue with this work at a time where physical interactions are prohibited? How to think about a post-COVID work and how to create meaningful connections without putting people's health at risk and avoiding density within buildings and public spaces.
And we believe that the secret to all of this is technology. It's here to enable these interactions from simple integrations via QR codes, as we pointed out earlier, that can connect content and video explaining how the pieces relate to the space, neighborhood, and community to more elaborate solutions using virtual and augmented reality for storytelling. It's a huge opportunity to change how people interact with spaces and each other at a time where we might be more distant physically, but more connected than ever as a community. Technology is here to be at our service, to allow us to achieve goals. If we think back at the core of art's value to society, it is its power to tell stories and create bonds within the community. These connections empower decisions on how people select the spaces that they occupy. And this will be important more than ever.
So to conclude, walls, instead of being a cost generator, can be a huge source of value. And we invite you to join us on this transformation and revolutionary journey. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're just gonna show the website very quickly since we still have a few minutes, and kind of like walk you through how, you know, you can use it as well. We just launched a video platform, which, you know, has all of this content that can be connected to the pieces, and talks about different artists, their points of view. Do you want to talk a little bit about the artist Q&As here?
Sure, I love that actually. So since the lockdown started, we decided to focus more in creating, obviously, those connections through the use of videos, like, and doing webinars where we invite some artists who are already participants on our project, who already have works on the platform, to do a short interview where we're trying to show the spectator a little bit of like their individual world. And what is interesting is that like the structure of the Q&As usually follows like same, like the structures are similar, but you can see how different each individual is from the other, because the answers are completely obviously different. Like they're sharing a bit of their stories. And we believe that when you present an artwork within context, like, and when the person understands where that is coming from, there's like a bigger appreciation for the final product. So this has been something that we always wanted to tackle. Like it has always been on our pipeline. And now, thanks to this forced stopped like in our routines, we've had the time and a great opportunity to create this initiative, to put to work this initiative. So what you're seeing here is the video page, and besides from the artist Q&A, you can also find some videos which are more focused on different topics in sustainability, like, and also more business oriented webinars when Manuela and I presented the company and talked a little bit about the use of technology when starting an art collection, or invited other guests to participate and share a little bit of their experiences when merging art and technology, which nowadays sounds like a more reasonable, like, and obvious thing to be doing. But when we started the company 5 years ago, it was pretty daring, like, and people would not understand, or would be like actually very resistant towards the idea.
Yeah, and you know, and I think some of our clients, the bigger real estate companies, the developers, etc., have picked up on this as a way to not only build value for the asset, but build value for the community, and provide, you know, the content as a perk for the residents, for the tenants, etc. So we've actually done two series with Related for, you know, their rental clients. And on helping them customize spaces virtually, on, you know, providing virtual consultations, thinking of products which might not necessarily be the most expensive artwork in the world, but it's still going to transform home offices. And, you know, with everybody stuck at home, it's just not enough to be in a space that you don't enjoy to be in. So there's a huge opportunity here to connect better with whoever is occupying your space.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect example of the different layers that we can add into the creation of a project. So we can be simply the one-stop shop where you're gonna go, like, and you're gonna figure out all of your design problems, because we know that, like, for an interior designer, or like when he's creating like a project, and especially for larger projects, like the biggest restraints are like time, like the size of the artwork, and also budget. So like we understand this, like, and we can be very practical in working with our clients and selecting works and trying to figure out like all of those issues. But we can also offer, like, if there is an interest, this extra layer of content, which from our perspective, something that brings a lot of value. And I think what we mentioned towards the end of our presentation, like, and which is going to be more evident looking forward, is like, now that human interactions are not possible, how to use technology to continue doing that and to create those strong bonds, you know. Like, and if you think that like QR codes can lead the person through an exhibition, so he doesn't have to be interacting with the gallery owner or the gallery assistant, but he can still, or she can still like get enough information or make the purchase with the touch of a button, you know. So really like not trying to reconstruct the wheel, but create a more smooth process through the use of technology.
Fantastic. I think that's, we have about a minute left, but I think we can open for Q&A.
That's perfect. Thank you. So,
we try to be well timed.
Nice. There are not any Q&A questions that came through yet, although I do have some questions for you just from my personal. The first one is, looking at your primary clients, would you say that they are owner occupiers of the buildings, or are they more the interior designers who are working for the owner occupiers?
Well, we do work with the full spectrum of real estate and PropTech. So it's always, so for example, in traditional hospitality, the owner will foot the bill, but the interior designer will select the work. In real estate, developers usually will work within the design team themselves for the public areas, and the same company will foot the bill. And then on our white labels, which is a different area where, for example, we'll have our entire product offering on a design platform like ePorta, which is in the UK. And interior designers will then visit that platform and purchase directly from the platform, and will fulfill the order, basically.
Nice. Before I ask the next question, just wanted to remind the attendees that if you have any questions, please write them in the Q&A panel at the bottom right-hand part of your screen. The next question that I had for you was, you've mentioned throughout your presentation how the products that you have helps with community building and engaging the community. Have you also looked at kind of the relationship to mental health of building tenants as well, and how having art pieces in there can actually provide a benefit to building tenants, especially during stressful times?
100%. Hey, do you want to take it, or do you want me to take it?
You can start. I can add on.
Yeah, I think, you know, we worked once with Memorial Sloan, which is a cancer hospital.
That's
here
exactly what I was gonna say.
And obviously, art is very, very important in the environment. And there are so many studies on the use of colors, and how blue is soothing and healing, and how red can be something more that causes conflict. So really, how you design a space does affect how people interact with it, and it affects productivity. And we've seen this, you know, if you look at the tech companies at the beginning and how well designed, you know, Facebook offices are, or Google's offices are, and how that just immediately inspires productivity. When we went to visit Facebook, they even had within the walls a print shop, for where, you know, because a lot of these people that work in startups, or that work in real estate or in design departments, are artists as well on the side. Right. So where they could be creating and engaging with the space and producing new pieces.
All right.
Yeah, and I think at a time like now, when we're mostly locked inside of our tiny little apartments, when you have art pieces hanging on your walls, like you have the possibility of making the space, which like for a lot of us like are like white cubicles, like into a more homey environment. And for sure that has a very positive impact on how you feel, like, and like all the other activities that are developed throughout your day. I think it's interesting to think how we turn to the arts, and when I say art, like not only visual arts, but like all sorts of different practices at this time when we are like, you know, isolated, like, and we have so much going on, like, and we are dealing with our anxiety, like, and this as a source of inspiration, or like our something that help us like calm down. And I think there is like a bigger appreciation for the arts in general at a moment of crisis like this.
Perfect. Looking at this now, there aren't any other Q&A questions that have come in. So do you guys have any closing comments or statements?
I know. I just, think of, even if you don't use us, think of how you can design a better space. Think of how people are going to be coming back to buildings. I think commercial real estate particularly is going to go through an interesting change, because the bigger tenants are going to be needing more space if they're keeping on their full staff, because people can just not sit next to each other how they used to. And a lot of companies that have found out that they can work remotely. So we're going to be transitioning into a world where the tenants that stay will demand a much better space, maybe for the same price.
Yeah, and I think just like one last thought, which is something that we used to mention quite a lot, that like it doesn't mean necessarily that everyone's gonna like the same artwork, but there is definitely an artwork which is gonna bring some value like into everyone's lives. And like with that said, like just like you might not like the same things, but like you can definitely like bring value into your life through the art. And when you're making a purchase, just try to buy like more with your heart than like with your brain, because value changes with time. And I think if you have something that you really like hanging on your wall, like even if it doesn't appreciate value, it's going to bring some joy into your life.